Wake your ass up
or take a damn nap.
And we're the three best friends that anybody could have.
It's time.
Sean, you were twerking. That's going to happen.
Murph, don't be a dick all your life.
It's one of the more fun podcasts I've ever done.
Hey, I tell you what, if you're not talking about sports in the man cave, I bet not say you're not a man.
That's it.
My guy, well, this is like full circle life for me. I remember growing up in Austin, Texas, and watching those great rivalry games with Texas and Arkansas. And this is a big compilation. Greg Thomas here, living in DFW, we've got a great story. And little did I know, he's from San Angelo, where my first ever TV job, back when I was in that industry forever, good old San Angelo Central. We're going to dive into that. Greg Thomas, man, it's funny how life works, how we kind of found out, started a conversation. Here we are inside the man cave tonight.
Yes, sir, and I'm glad to be here. And let me ask you, was it KIXY or KLST?
It was in 1998 and 99, it was KACB, which became KSAN.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was KLST when I was growing up.
They had two of them when we were the second one they launched. KLST, they're the legends.
Yes. Great old San Angelo, Texas, born and raised.
Great place. And we're going to talk about that as well, the Concho Valley and the Central Bobcats. So here we are, Greg Thomas, San Angelo's Razorback QB1. Before we dive into his story, and it's a great one, we got to give a shout out to Jim Saxton, State Farm Insurance Agency, Longhorn legacy. Dad was a Heisman finalist way back, and Jimmy, humble. He's been insuring Austin and Central Texas for about, I'm going to show his age a little bit, almost 3 decades.
Really?
Man, and he is the guy that he makes you feel like family, and that's just not me saying it because he's a partner and a supporter of this show, but you call the guys at Jim Saxton State Farm. So you just heard us talk about it. How do we tell GT's story the best? Well, we start out do you call it West Texas?
No,
correct.
Still West Texas, still Sikkim Cats, Angry Orange. It's all that. Man, you gotta love them. Hey, the Little Southwest Conference.
Yes,
that stuff. It is what it was. Friday Night Lights, lived it, was a part of it, and that's a great pleasure to be a part of that history.
It's amazing because you got to play in one of we were just talking about Allen High School and their Taj Mahal of a beautiful high school football stadium and the power that they were and still are. But little people know that San Angelo ISD Stadium was one of the premier stadiums in the entire state of Texas. You had Ratliff and Odessa. Then you had San Angelo, the Horseshoe. I mean, talk about playing in that big. That's a big stadium for high school football.
And it was a replica of UT.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a replica of UT, just not as big. But
right,
my junior senior year, we put 19, 20, 22,000 people in that stadium.
Unbelievable.
In high school, and then that was in the mid 80s.
Yeah.
So it's still a great stadium. It's still one of the top 10 right now, in terms of being recognized by high school coaches around the yeah.
And that's a great town of about a little over 100,000. I mean, it's a great place. I was there for an entire year.
Yeah.
I got one football season in, then I started moving around, and I loved it. Went back recently to see some family who happened to be there. Loved it. Growing up there, for you, I mean, what can you tell people? I mean, I know it's changed a little bit, but it's a great place to grow up, right?
Great place to raise your kids.
Right.
It's a great, great family atmosphere. Now, I was that young man that was always trying to get out. And you don't realize it when you're little. My goal was always to live here in Dallas. And this is where my grandparents and all my cousins lived on my mother's side.
Okay.
San Angelo is a great place, man. Very historic.
Yes.
I mean, from Emory Beloit. My dad coached the state championship team there at the Blackshear High School, all black school then in the 50s. To some of the greatest young men to ever be a part of high school football. It's amazing the history we have and the connection they have to Austin with some of the track athletes,
Right.
As well as some of the baseball players. And it was great for me. It was a great place to grow up.
Now, who was your head coach then at Central?
The legendary
The legend.
Jimmy Keeling.
Yes.
The
I need a refresher.
Hall of Famer, a man that gave me a chance and changed my life, changed my trajectory 100%. And I'll be the first to tell you that.
It's amazing the impact coaches of any sport can have on a young man or woman, and really, really, it carries with you to as old as we are.
Yes, good
to this day.
But I had some great coaches, all the way from, like I said, my brother was my first coach, and some of his friends. And then it went on to, Coach Keeling taking over my ninth grade year. And then the things he implemented and reestablished Central high football program. Then I went on to play at the University of Arkansas and played for Ken Hatfield and the legendary Frank Rawls. And it's amazing. I got a chance to meet and be a part of the livelihood of Norm DeBryan in baseball and
wow,
Nolan Richardson in basketball. Both of them.
You were there at the right time. You just mentioned it. So I remember, Arkansas was always known to be physical, good athletes, and just good football players. And you mentioned them, the great coach Ken Hatfield, and he's an Arkansas guy.
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin the story, but I love it when he stopped by Central. How did he learn about you? And tell that story when he stopped by your coach's office and said, that guy can be a Razorback.
It's amazing. I didn't know that until about 10 years later, or 10 years ago, let's say that. I had originally committed to Baylor. And then on the last weekend before signing period, Baylor had an opportunity to get a running back, which they already had Cody Carlson and Tom Mickey. So now I'm really pushed out the door. And Grand Tap on a Sunday evening at 5:30, and I have a 6 o'clock flight, tells me that they don't have a scholarship for me.
Wow.
So I called Coach Keeling on the phone. Coach Keeling and Coach Tab are good friends. And heck, Coach Tab knew my father as a coach because he used to coach at San Angelo State then. So there was a little history, and it didn't go well. And then Coach Keeling got back on the phone, and I already had connections with A&M, Oklahoma, USC, Notre Dame, but I chose Baylor. So I'm dangling in the wind, man, on Wednesday. Actually, I'm sitting in my room crying. I'm not gonna lie.
I would too.
Frustrated, and not upset that my teammates are going, but I was selfish at that time because I wanted to be going somewhere also. And then on that Thursday or Friday, Coach Keeling got in contact with Coach Hatfield. He was in transition from the Air Force Academy back to his home state of Arkansas. Watched the video. While I was away on my visit, he flew in, and my principal, because Coach Keeling was absent, my principal, Mr. Casey, who's in the book, took him and showed him the video and everything. You put it on your little 8mm and wind that joker up and hit that press, and he watched about 30 seconds of it, and that was it. He offered me from the flight on the way back to Fayetteville.
I love that, because you know what, it's stories like that where we want to be and where we think we should be. I've seen it happen too many times, but we always end up where we belong.
Yeah, I was playing. It was a God thing. I totally believe that. Could have gone to USC. They weren't winning. Had an offer from LSU. They were 0-10.
Unbelievable.
Colorado State was not very good. So I'm going at least Arkansas was 5-6 or 6-5. I'm going well, hey. And then I got a chance on my visit to see the guys that were there. And I said, shucks, man, if I can't play here, I don't need to play. What do I sign? Signed before I even got back home. But it was a challenge.
Yeah.
Truthfully, I did not know the history of Arkansas football. And honestly, I didn't care. I just wanted an opportunity to go play. And I wanted to play quarterback. He promised me that I could still play quarterback. And where all the other SWC and Big 8 schools were DB or wide receiver, Coach Hatfield said, no, you can go ahead and stay a quarterback.
And the offense, so I'm going to show some video, couple of plays, and this to this day is my favorite offense, and it lasted quite a while. It had a good run from the late 60s for a while. I loved it. And to me, it is the modern day offenses it's like inverted, the opposite of this, but because pass plays do have options. But this is Greg Thomas while he was a Razorback.
They have run it. Second down call, and Thomas still has it. Thomas gets a block. He gets a block from Donnie Centers. He may go all the way, and he will. Touchdown. Oh, yes. Johnny Hughes. United. There's the play action, and Thomas has scored for the second time tonight.
Can you still do that move without pulling a muscle?
No, I'll pull a muscle and fall down, a little bit too heavy now to do that move. But you did see a little bit of athleticism.
Right.
That little turnaround and those spins. But those are things we learned back home on the dirt.
Right.
And it was everyday, normal activity for me. Like you said, the wishbone started actually with Ray Hudson, and Emory Ballard gets all the credit for it.
Yeah.
But he saw, one of my father's former players scooting the fullback up because he was slow. And so he moved him up, and he saw it when he visited him over at the junior high, and he implemented that at Central, and they win the state championship. Then he goes on to the University of Texas and gets coined with that offense called the wishbone. And it's something we played in all my youth.
All the time. And
yes,
the one story that I think you were kind of a pioneer. You hear the stories, especially the Southern schools. It took too long, way too long. You were the first. Was it the first starting quarterback, African-American quarterback at Arkansas?
In 1985.
Unreal.
1985. Now, we could go back. I was the first at Central also.
Is that right?
But Mike Flores was the first Hispanic. So he was the first non-Caucasian to start 2 years earlier. And then I was the first to start at Central in 82, 83. And then the next year I go to Arkansas, and I'm the first to start there in 85. Now, they had a gentleman there, Martin Lamont.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Lamont was out of Bay City, Sterling, South. Won the state championship in 70, 75, 76. I watched him play. My mother took me to watch that state championship game. He went to the University of Arkansas, stayed there 18 months, played about 5 plays, and then transferred out. And it took another 8 years before I came back or had the opportunity. So, I got to give Martin Lamont all his props for going up there and being the first.
Absolutely.
But I was the first to start. I think when we really look back at it, and we just celebrated when Martin, myself, and Quinn Grover, the first three, play up in Arkansas. This past weekend, we was in Fayetteville, and we had a little, what we call legendary gathering, and we all got footballs. There's only been about 10, I think, in Arkansas history. There's 150 years of history. So, yeah, we're the last to bring a black on a scholarship to the Southwest Conference, to the university in football in 1970. So there's a lot of history. Like I said, I wrote a book about it. It's all in the book. It's through my eyes, so you can see some of the advantages, disadvantages, some of the craziness that we dealt with, or that I dealt with. And it was fun. I mean, I had a chance to go to Texas. They came to recruit me. They just told me that I couldn't play quarterback.
Oh, I just want everybody to really think about this. 1984, 85. That is late to the party, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to criticize Arkansas. I just, from a historical perspective, that's where we were in the South.
Yeah.
And even Texas, UT. I
But
believe
they had Donnie Little in the 70s, about the same time Martin Lamont was there. So Donnie played for 3 years, then he went to, I think, receiver, defensive back his senior year. And then you didn't get another one at Texas until I think it was Donovan Forbes that came after me. The year after I was, had a chance to. I mean, I talked to Fred Akers about it.
Yeah. Coach
Akers, was in Arkansas, born and raised, and we talked about it. And it's just amazing. I mean, he told me why he couldn't, and you just have to accept it and go on. And it is.
It's wild to think of the political pressures would involve the color of skin, and that's what has bothered me for many years, trying to get a grip on that. But I'm just glad we are where we are now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Look at these numbers, though. Greg Thomas, almost over 3,100 combined. That's rushing and passing. 23 combined touchdowns, and think about that in a run dominant offense. I mean, you could sling the rock, though.
Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt.
But, Sean, let me say it like this. I played with Bobby Joe Edmonds, James Rouse, Carl Miller, Sammy Van Dyke, Marshall Foreman, Derek Thomas, Joe Johnson. 6 of those got a chance to play in the NFL. Okay, Bobby Joe was Rookie of the Year, was in the backfield. And
unbelievable.
He carried the ball maybe 5 or 6 times a game. I mean, so I'm probably 8th or 9th as a running back. I'm a quarterback, but they toted the ball. And I think we were, 2 or 3 in the nation and rushing when we played behind Oklahoma and, I'm not sure who else, but we were pretty good running the ball. Now, we should have thrown the ball more.
Yeah.
But it wasn't what we did. When had All-American wide receiver James Shebels, Donnie Centers, All-American Theo Young, and Luther Franklin. We had those receivers also, but that just wasn't Coach Hatfield's philosophy.
Great teams that I thought could have won a lot more. And we're always there at the end, usually in the South for the Southwest Conference race. Speaking of that, during your era, I got to include Little Rock. I know it's a thing for U of A. You play a game or two at War Memorial, but your time there, you kind of mentioned it. Norm DeBryan, the legendary baseball coach.
Yes, sir.
Frank Broyles, the former coach and was AD at the time.
Yes, sir.
Ken Hatfield, and then the great Nolan Richardson, all there.
Yes, sir.
What was life like back in Fayetteville as a football player for the Hogs?
Well,
then?
Football, basketball, baseball, we were winning in all 3 sports. Winning. So it was Sweet 16, Elite 8. baseball team was playing in the College World Series 2 of the 4 years there. We were transitioning from Coach Sutton to Coach Richardson, and then 2 years later they're playing in the Final Four in '90. So it was great times on the Hill, man. It is what you dream about. It actually got a picture with Coach DeBryan and Coach Richardson this past weekend. Haven't seen them in 2 years, and saw them on the golf course and at the functions. Great talking to them. Getting a big hug from guys that that had your best interest at heart. We celebrated our 1985 Holiday Bowl team reunion, and Coach Hatfield came and spoke at that. And we had, I think, maybe 47 of the 85 guys, and we lost.
Wow.
So we had about 15 or 20 that didn't make it for whatever reason, but that's what it's all about, just cherishing those memories. We were 10-2 and should have played for the national championship that year, and ended up playing in San Diego and winning the ball game.
Not a bad consolation there.
Nah, nope.
Not a bad.
No, sir.
For those young heads who don't understand, because the SWC doesn't exist anymore, toward the end, all the issues. You guys, University of Arkansas, were the first domino to drop. You said, right. We out.
Gone.
We're going to SEC. We saw the writing on the wall. We need to generate revenue. The only way to do that is to get out of this mess that has become because of all the cheating going on.
Yeah.
Everybody was doing it.
Everybody did it. Everybody did. I mean, it's hard. It is what it is. We were so good at cheating that the program or the conference is defunct, and they won't even talk about it. And it was some of the best collection of athletes. If you think the SEC is where it is now, go back 30 years ago and look at the SWC.
Right.
That was the best conference to play in. And, it is what it is, man. I mean, I could tell you stories. I won't do it because I don't tell you stories, man, personal stories of how bad it was.
Yeah.
And it was all in the open. It was all in the open. But, shucks, guys are getting paid, all kind of money now for name, image, and likeness. Just imagine if they had name, image, and likeness when we were playing. And people still doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
Now it's legal to do it, and now they're mad.
It's amazing how things evolve. And then you had programs. We all know what happened to SMU. I mean, literally, pretty much killed that program.
Yeah.
And TCU took a hit.
Yeah.
Houston took a hit. Texas had a couple of slaps on the wrist.
Hit. Texas should have taken a hit. Texas A&M should have taken a bigger hit.
Hey, Jackie had a little rise of the program right there.
Yeah, Coach Sherrill knew everybody. He knew what to do.
He did.
He came. That was my best visit.
Was it really?
Oh, yes. And then Kevin Murray talked me out of coming because he was a freshman and he was going to be playing for the next 3 years. But Coach Sherrill and his approach was just, he called my mother by her name, not out of her name, but he called my mother by her name. He called my father's name when he shook my hand. And we're there with, I guess, the top 50 players on that visit. He considered in A&M's recruiting, and he asked me how my mom was doing by her name.
Wow, that's big.
You feel like, wow, that was my best visit. Now, the other visits were just fun and crazy because I knew I wasn't going to go to certain schools, but let's go visit and go, see what they're doing.
Enjoy it
because you don't know if you'll ever have that opportunity again.
Yeah, you're only young once.
Yep.
You get that opportunity, you got to take it.
Yes.
So we're going to head back to San Angelo, and I had to show this clip because it's kind of like a smooth segue to the other role that you're playing right now.
One of San Angelo Central's all-time greats is back in town. Former Bobcats quarterback Greg Thomas returned to sign copies of his new book, No Doubting Thomas, Hawg Whisperer.
Yeah. Greg Thomas, the author. Now that was last year when your book was released, correct?
Correct. It came out in February of 22.
What inspired that? I know you have a lot of stories, and I in a short time, I've enjoyed everything that we've talked about because it not only brings back memories, but you give a little bit of an in-depth insight to your journey through that program and Northwest Arkansas.
It's a little different, but it's not any different than many people, but it was different because I got that label. And so it was my way of sharing the story, putting it out there, and trying to grow up and put it through a player's perspective. That's the best way I can put it.
Right.
In my experience in Northwest Arkansas, well, throughout the state and even in the South. Because we played, in Ole Miss, and we played, Jackson, Mississippi, and some of the things aren't, it's different. And people don't want to talk about it, but things happen, and you either grow through it or it dominates you. And I was too stubborn to let it slow me down, but it was different. And I have an older brother, and I would expect my brother to go through it because that was the social divide we had.
Yeah.
My father went through it. He like I said, he coached a segregated team, state champion. My brother played at the beginning of the integration. And so some of those things that I was faced with or confronted with, I thought should have never taken place.
Yeah.
And then you go and then, it happens. So teammates always, when I first went on my visit, I had teammates telling me that I would never play quarterback there. From the state. God, they was in, dude, they going to move you. I'm telling you, it's not going to happen. But I had a couple teammates from down from Stuttgart, Reggie Hall, Kerry Owens, God rest his soul, and Otis Lloyd. They would always say, hey, man, you need to write this down because you're about to make some history, man. We've never seen this. And so we sit around and talk, at dinner and in the dorm, and they convinced me to sit down and write. And I just wrote down today's practice. I got 10 reps. Today I got a chance to sit the entire time, didn't touch the field. You do that kind of stuff. Today I got a chance to play with the scout team. Oh, tomorrow they want me to run the scout team in the scrimmage. So I wrote all that stuff down. The conversation, the good and the bad. Some of the, I say it like this. Blackie Sherrod came and told me that, Greg, this is going to happen. I don't know if you know who Blackie Sherrod was. He was one of the most famous sports reporters here in the DFW area.
Right.
And he came to that fall of '84 to do a story during the Southwest Conference. They would go to every school before the season started and do a report on on the projections and things of that nature. And he interviewed me as a freshman on a team that brought back one of the top defense in the country. Not even know if I'm going to play. He said, hey, this is a story. I watched you play high school, and I'm just dumbfounded that you came to Arkansas, and I want to know, how you getting along. And that was my first interview, was with the legendary Blackie Sherrod.
Wow.
Amazing. And I was reading his articles every week. I'm in the Dallas Morning News or the Times. I'm reading his scatter shooting. I mean, I get a chance to sit down and talk to this gentleman who he could raise your stock or kill your stock with a pen, which I also learned in the state of Arkansas from some of those reporters. they can like you and dislike you, and some of them did a little bit of both.
You look at this book, and obviously you chronicled your time,
right?
Documented it. When you were a Razorback quarterback, you obviously defied the odds. You were, I hate to use that word again, but pioneer. But you kind of helped pave the way for opportunities for other African-American young men that you can play quarterback here. The door is open. But You also had Ken Hatfield had a little bit more open mind. And you captured some of your adversity. I mean, you went through some things. Is that correct throughout this book and parts of this book?
Oh yes. Oh yes. It almost immediately. Like I said, this past weekend we had a reunion for that 85 team. My first in-season roommate was David Smart. Haven't seen Smart since 1986. Smart, I'm going to say this, he took the brunt of all the craziness because he didn't play his freshman year. So he had to answer the phone calls.
Oh.
And it was his responsibility that he took on himself to try to protect me from a lot of that crazy stuff. But that first game that I played in, he took that on, man. They called him everything and all stuff and called me all that stuff. And then when I got back to the dorm, he tried to, persuade me not to pick up the phone. And once again, I'm stubborn. I want to call my own family. And then in between calls, I had to take some of those phone calls.
Right.
And you think in 85, none of that stuff would be taking place. And it did. So it was through my eyes. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't put everything in there because there's some things that you don't need to reveal. You know what I'm saying? But my teammates know. They know. And I allow some of my teammates to hear the phone calls. So I could have, what's that word, plausible deniability.
Yeah.
People want to say that it didn't happen. Yeah. You can ask some of those guys I mentioned in the book that they'll tell you it happened. And Smart had to deal with that. And he's way tougher of a man than I thought he was. Never considered his feelings. And I have to take a step back and just say, thank you, brother. We hugged each other for about 5 minutes, man.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. What's on the agenda now as you enter it? This honestly about to enter year 3.
No, this is still 2.
2?
Yeah, still 2. I think in a 1-year period, it went from print to ebook. Now it's an audio book.
Okay.
So got a great voice, and the man, his name is Greg Campbell. He's a voice actor, an award-winning voice actor, to tell a story. We're looking. Things are happening. Let's just say that.
Right. Well, I trust you.
I've done. This is another podcast. We're working different angles, looking at things here in the future. The goal first was to heal. See, I had to heal myself.
Right.
It took 30 years to put that on paper. So some of those things don't die. You just have to let go. Other things you can confront. I'm hoping the university will accept that accountability also and share it and put it out there. But there are some people that they die hard too.
Yeah.
They don't want to see it. They don't want to talk about, it wasn't that bad, or, it really didn't happen. And those folk, God bless their souls. They have to come to grips with what they have to come to grips with. And it's just my story. Yeah. You don't have to like it. You don't have to believe in it. It's just my story, and I put it out there, and you can accept it or not. I'm okay with that.
So I know Nolan Richardson was. If people, I was enamored by him.
Right.
Tulsa. It's just a story.
Mm-hmm.
But he was very vocal to defend and stand up for people. People didn't take it the right way, which was expected back then.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't that long ago, Greg. Seriously, it really wasn't.
Well, Sean, this is how I look at it. It's only been 63 years, 64 years that black folks had the right to vote.
That's a great point.
You see what I'm saying? So integration was only taking place, let's say, in 53, 54. Mm-hmm. So it's 63 when you get the right to vote. 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120, 121, 122, 123, 124, 125, 126, 127, 128, 129, 130, 131, 132, 133, 134, 135, 136, 137, 138, 139, 140, 141, 142, 143, 144, 145, 146, 147, 148, 149, 150, 151, 152, 153, 154, 155, 156, 157, 158, 159, 160, 161, 162, 163, 164, 1 we think that that's been a long time ago. It hasn't been that long. And some folks, I raise my children to understand diversity, opportunity, and to appreciate it. My children don't really understand it, but they're having kids. So their children now have to go through some of that. And so they are, I'm not going to say they're championing it, but they are doing their part to recognize and make sure their children understand reality and history. And some people don't like the history. And that's okay. You're going to have to embrace it one way or the other.
This book is a must read, in my opinion. And tell everyone where they can find a copy the most efficient way.
Well, the most efficient way is right here on the picture you put up.
Yeah, the barcode.
Yeah, there's a QR code on there. You can order the book, come straight from me. I will give you an autographed copy. But if you want to go through Amazon or Barnes & Noble, you can go that route. The audio book is strictly with iTunes, Amazon, and Audible. You can get it, through the KDP with for the ebook. But for an autographed copy, just hit that QR code right there. It'll take you to the order form, and I get it to you in the mail the next day.
I love how that sounds.
Yeah.
So if you're watching right now or listening, you can go to the Twitter site, and that being at Stories Man Cave, and we're going to see this graphic you see on the screen, and just scan that code. And on Instagram too, I'll have it on the Stories Inside the Man Cave Instagram, as well as my personal Twitter site handle, or what are we calling it these days? Twitter page. And on Facebook, Stories Inside the Man Cave Facebook page, because I think from a historical perspective and the guy he is, those in our demographic who love Southwest Conference football and who love history, this is inspiring. And it's I think a lot of society needs to hear these stories to honestly see, as many problems that we're having now, how much progress we have actually made.
100%. I agree with you 100%.
And you're working at Plano ISD right now, correct?
Yes.
What role are you playing now? You wear a lot of hats.
Well, yes, and now my number one job is trying to get those students that aren't going to graduate, or they're in a situation where their graduation may be delayed. I go find them. I have a team, and we go find those students, and then we bring them to our office, and then we give them the ingenuity to give them the individual tutoring and counseling that they need in order that they can graduate. You have to have a high school diploma,
right? Yeah.
Just to have an opportunity to compete. Then we can open up other doors after that. But that's my number one job, is trying to help themselves to get a chance to compete in the world. My second job is coaching basketball, and I've been doing that for the last 20 years. And it's been the best antidote to dealing with kids that aren't passing, that aren't achieving their goals. You get a chance to have a positive influence when we're dealing with negativity all the time.
Correct.
So it's helped me 100% in coaching basketball. That's one of my favorite sports anyway. So, I played football in college, but I could have played basketball, should have played baseball. But, I wanted to do something different and play quarterback. And everyone was telling me I couldn't. So let's try to do that. But I want to say this, though. It wasn't everybody, Sean, in that state. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Yeah, it wasn't everybody. I had the craziness here in Texas. I had at A&M, they had a Hawg hanging out with a number 8 jersey outside the window with a noose around his neck. I thought that's the funniest flattery, but it wasn't. It was crazy.
That's wild.
Calling your room in the middle of the night in Austin, giving threats and stuff like that. That's some people that say that's a part of college football. It is, but it's not. So, you think about it, but you don't. Just go on and do your job. Had some great teammates, man. brothers that surrounded me and supported me, and we were victorious, brother. It was the best 5 years in Arkansas history. I mean, 28-8 as a starter, 35-10 as a quarterback. Still number one, if not most victorious quarterback in Razorback history. But you never know it if I don't say anything about it.
And we're shining that bright light on you,
Yeah.
and we're going to promote it because it's funny how we connected, and it's funny how I instantly thought, what was the first question I asked you?
Well, you asked me 100. So
Yeah, I said, by any chance did you play quarterback at Arkansas?
You asked me that question. Yes, you sure did. Is this the Greg Thomas? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's amazing how that worked. And called my cousin, Arkansas, longtime season ticket holder, senior family. And that's how excited I was about it. Because even though you were the rival, and that kind of is like a good segue here, brother. Our man cave story.
Yes, sir.
We've had some good ones.
Okay.
Some great ones. And I got a feeling that you may have a good man cave story involving the Texas Longhorn rivalry. Would there be one that would be deemed a man cave story?
Well, it's not my fondest memory, but I'm gonna give you a story. In '87, we're playing in Little Rock, whom to me they're the best fans because they don't
really
get a chance to see. But nowadays, too, again, we used to play half our schedule in Little Rock. Now they don't play 2 games. But we were playing there, and Brett Stafford on the last play of the game hits little bitty Tony Jones and beats us 15-13 on the last play of the game.
I remember.
And it is still the hardest game to swallow. And especially when you know we should have won that game.
Yeah.
We should have won that game. And that's the rivalry between Texas and Arkansas. Not the best team won all those games.
Ever.
Whoever made the least mistakes or somebody else made an unbelievable play. And that's the worst loss I've ever suffered personally was that game there.
I couldn't watch the last play. There were 4 seconds left on the clock.
Right.
You guys were up. And it was the Eric Metcalf show for Texas that day. You could have heard a pin drop that day.
Oh, yeah.
That was – how do you describe that silence after that catch?
Deafening silence. You feel like you let the world down. And you just in disbelief. I mean, it was surreal. From all the great victories we had, that was absolutely the worst personal defeat. And I didn't finish the game. Remember, I had a, tore up shoulder, was trying to play, and coach elected to take me out of the game those last 2 series. So I'm not on the field. I'm not able to help my team and sit there and watch it. I took a knee on that last play. Just sit there and watched it, and then when he catches the ball, complete silence. Oh, and then the boos came after that.
Oh,
then the boos, then the jokes and all that crazy stuff took place. But it derailed our season. I mean, we lost to Miami 2 weeks earlier. That was okay. They won the national championship. But we win that game. We're 2 games up in the conference. We don't lose the conference. We win the conference that year. But they executed. We didn't execute throughout the entire game. And we lose that game, and that's the worst feeling you could ever have, losing on the last play of the game.
You have zero control.
Nothing.
I remember it. I remember being, did that just happen?
Yeah.
And little Tony got hit by 2 DBs.
Atwater and Cooney.
Atwater's one of the hardest hitting safeties to ever
Yes.
play the game.
Biggest, one of the greatest guys you ever meet too. He one of the greatest guys. Went to see him his induction to the Hall of Fame, 2 summers ago. That's how tight we are.
Wow.
He can knock the fire out of you. He hit you in your teeth with rattle. But he hit Tony. He held on to the ball, and it's one of the best plays in Texas history, and it's probably the worst play in Arkansas, Texas history, from our standpoint.
And that was during some really down times for Texas.
Yeah.
We
ain't supposed to lose it, man. Don't ever get me to talk about them jokers. We never. Man, there's many Texas players that we had. In '85, I think we had 16 of the starting 22 were from Texas.
Mind blowing.
Yes. I mean, we did a great job recruiting our guys from Texas. We should never lose to Texas. And that's why it's such a hated rivalry.
Yeah.
And from those of us, I am a born and raised Texan. And I do not like UT. Every chance I get, I will do it. I don't care what the NCAA says. It's either that one or the other finger. You don't want the other finger.
Yeah, universal number one.
Hey, no love. Respect, but no love. And mine is personal also. My father couldn't even walk on the campus. He went to school at Houston-Tillerson on the other side of 35. So for me to have an opportunity to be recruited by Texas, my father wasn't with that. You know what I'm saying? He was like, they wouldn't let me come. And so if I'm not good enough, I don't want you to go there. And that was a conversation. Now, all my brothers and sisters, they Longhorn fans. But me and my pops, they're not Longhorn fans, And,
hey, GT, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we're going to get some more of Greg Thomas, the Arkansas QB1. That's he'll forever have that title, and also a difference maker in young lives. And that's coming up on the other side of this break. For all of your insurance needs, look no further than our primary sponsor, Jim Saxton State Farm Insurance Agency. The ATX OG has been insuring Austin for over 3 decades. And get this, Jim Saxton is a Longhorn legacy. He is the son of the late, great James Saxton, who was a Heisman finalist. Be sure to give him a call, or better yet, visit his website, saxtoninsurance.com, and tell him that the stories inside the Man Cave Boys recommended you. You get the trend there. Everywhere I went in Fayetteville, oh my God, help me out. That rib place, that was where that was. It's highly well known. I forgot the name of it.
The smokestack or
first name, somebody's name.
Golly.
Man.
So I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't eat steak.
Oh man, it was first of all some of the best ribs this guy's ever had. In the middle of dinner, everybody starts calling the pigs.
Yeah, every day.
Everywhere we went, on the bar, out on the porch, everywhere.
Well, here's the difference. In the state of Texas, you have 8 big-time. Then with the adage now, like a Stephen F. Alston and San State and Texas State, so you roughly had 25, big-time universities that you can choose to attend. You have Arkansas State, UALR.
Yeah. Come on.
That's it.
Much love to Arkansas Pine Bluff. We got to give them a shout out.
Yeah, UAPB, but that's an HBCU.
In
So
Central Arkansas.
Yeah. So you have 5, maybe 6, but almost everyone wants to be a Razorback.
So I got to get your perspective. You guys have been in the SEC since 1992, right?
Yes.
92. I remember that. You're about to add 2 more.
Can't wait.
Oklahoma.
Can't wait. Can't wait. They gonna get their bus handed to them too. I'm telling you, can't wait. You're not playing in front of 30,000. You playing in front of 85 to 100,000, depending on where you go. You go to Mississippi State, 89,000. You go to LSU, 109,000. You go to Tuscaloosa, 120,000. You go to Auburn, 89,000. Go to Missouri, well, heck, you can go to Missouri, but it's still gonna be 75,000.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, come on, we can't wait. You got to play every week.
So, what do you think? I have an idea from I've been to places like UGA, LSU, Arkansas, obviously. It's every week. Big 12, they have a good brand of football, but it's not every week you're playing a contender, a heavyweight. But we saw what A&M experienced. They had one good year. Actually, the COVID year was pretty good. They were pretty good. But do you think Texas, and I'm just being very, let's put your anti down, I'll put my fan down, fan eyes. Do you think Texas and Oklahoma will have the same experience as A&M did for a long time? So
as Arkansas did, as Missouri did. The physicality week to week changes up. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's not just football. The physicality in basketball is going to be different. The speed and the physicality and the size in girls softball. Although Oklahoma and Texas got a great softball team, you got to play LSU, Mississippi State, Georgia, Tennessee. That's every week. And so it is what it is. It's the best collection in the now, like it used to be, 40 years ago, of athletes. And you just have to muster and survive. I mean, if you can stay healthy, you got a chance. If you get injured, you better have some stud backups. And you know where the stud backups are going now. They going to Iowa State. They going to Kansas so they can play.
NIL.
They're not stacking up at Alabama like they used to. So they're going to go where they can play, get name, image, and likeness, play out their turn. If they win, they win. If they don't, they don't. It's going to be a challenge. Coaching is going to be a challenge. Scouting is going to be a challenge. And then the recruiting, you know what the recruiting is.
Do you think fans, the general fans, let's dial it into Texas. I mean, now OU has, let's be honest, they've owned the Big 12 for a long time. Now, last year, Stoops retired, and they went down a little bit. All right, and that's expected. Do you think Texas fans truly have an idea what's it about to be like?
No, but they good and arrogant as it is. So nope. They believe, just like all the other fans believe that their fandom is the best. Now you get a chance to prove it.
That's a good point.
To be honest with you, the Razorback fans, we will travel.
Yep, it's been proven.
It's proven. K-State fans will travel.
Yep.
Now we got to see if Oklahoma fans are going to travel to Georgia or to South Carolina. We got to see if the Texas fans are going to travel
to Kentucky.
Oh, man, Kentucky fans travel. They travel.
Texas fans will be there. I can promise you that.
Well, that'd be good.
Yeah.
And they get to see how the other half live.
Yeah.
And you get to see the craziness and the fandom from some of these other schools that we take for granted. And that's what the SEC has provided for everyone. once you inside that fold, it's a bigger family. It's not just you individuals. You better be understanding that everyone is going to travel and come play. They're going to be loud. They're going to be rockers. They're going to be crazy. But it's part of it, man. That's what drives the league.
Tell you, there's 102,000 seats at DKR Memorial Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
OU keeps a cap at about, I want to say 88, because they create the supply and demand. So they're good with what they have.
At home.
At home. And it's so the people here, what's going to happen to ticket prices now. That's expected.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at the Texas schedule now, there's no offense to anybody, but you pick out what circle games you want to get. Even if you buy season tickets, we're going to be selling those. But it ain't going to be like that anymore in the SEC. Every week you want to be there.
And it's cool. Every sport, too. I mean,
we were talking about.
Wait till you go to a track meet. Go to a track meet.
Yeah.
And see the fans turn out for that. I mean, it's the softball, the basketball, the volleyball. I can't wait to see the Longhorn ladies volleyball team when they got to play Florida and Arkansas and LSU. Man, they're gonna say, "Dang, it's gonna be packed." Every time you get on that jet to fly east, you're gonna be like, you better have your A game on.
You know what I can't wait for? SEC baseball.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
Hey, I'm telling you, you go to Fayetteville and watch a baseball game.
That stadium's ridiculous.
Unbelievable. And
every one of them are.
Yeah, but they're adding seats to one in Fayetteville. We were there last weekend, man, playing Tennessee. I'm telling you, it is. Wait till Texas gets a chance to see this every week. See, they don't have that every week.
We got to go to the TikToking in the man cave.
All right.
I'll ask you this question. What would you do, and think about it, if you saw a sea lion just jumped out of the pool that you were in and then did this?
Adorable sea lion goes for a swim before stealing a man's deck chair. I'll be having that, thanks.
I think I'll move a little bit faster.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's his first time.
No, but I will move a little bit faster than he moved.
I'm going over there to the other side of the pool.
Quickly.
Oh, I'm going on that deck. There was a deck.
Yep.
Man,
I don't know.
Hey.
Yeah.
We don't run this world. These animals do. Hey, brother, we love positivity around here, and this is why we do this.
Hey, man, tell me something good.
Thomas, the pride of the Arkansas Razorback football program, but he's a Texan. He's in Plano, educating young people, leading them in the right direction, coaching them, mentoring them. You know, and amongst all the negativity we've had, it seems like it's been magnified since 2020. Some good things have happened. But if you were to jump on Twitter at any given moment, you would think the world is just a horrible place.
Right.
GT, tell me something good that maybe you could leave or impart upon the people that would maybe be inspiring from your perspective.
I'm going to tell you, we had 4 young people graduate on Thursday. In January, when they came to us, was not going to graduate.
Wow.
So we have 4 graduate that had literally no opportunity. If they had stayed in their current situation, they would not have graduated. That's positive. That's making a difference and giving someone a chance at life. And that's what we do. That's what we do with our PAR. That's our Plano Attendance Review Board. And that's what my team with Lawrence and Miss Miss Charlie and Miss Pugh, they do. We do that. You know, and that's the coolest thing around, to see someone put on that cap and gown when they didn't have a thought process of doing that.
You need one person to believe in you.
Every day.
That's it.
Every day.
Man, I commend you in that program in Plano ISD. I really do.
Thank you, sir. You got to give a shout out to Miss Bradley for creating this program, and give a shout out to all our teachers and counselors that spend that time with those students. Lawrence and I just go find them, go talk to them, and convince them to coming back. And I mean, it's a whole well-rounded program.
I love it, and I just had an idea. So I mentor in a program here in Austin, Texas called RBI Austin, sanctioned by Major League Baseball, but I'm not part of our baseball or softball. I'm just on the mentorship side. I would love to have you come down. It's in Austin.
It's all right. I can drive.
Hey, and you can. And we won't go to the University of Texas campus if you don't want to.
Love it. Love it. Challenge.
And speak to these young people, because you know our east side is shrinking.
Right.
There's some hard stories, but there's some great results.
Yeah. Like I said, my dad went to school there. My mother's a graduate of Tillerson, my sister and 2 nephews. You just set it up. Let me know when you need me to come, and then Becky and I will come.
Hey, it's just an excuse to get you here so we can talk some more off of a camera.
Yeah, but that'd even be better. I'm always up for good conversation.
How do you call the Hogs?
Same way as that one, Woo Pig Suey. I raised it up. I even turned to the side a little bit.
Hey, new brother for life right here,
Yeah.
Greg Thomas.
Thank you.
Razorback for life. And for GT and his family, the pride of Shreveport, Louisiana, that being Stevie Lee, and the OG Man Cave boys, that being Hardball Hars, Big Mike, and Coach Mo, we out.
Thank you.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up.